Only atheists, bereft of reason, could have decided upon the ultimate brutality being planted in the USSR today. And who was it perpetrated against? The government perpetrated against the Russian people themselves. So a lot of times people say, oh, the American government wouldn't hurt people. Right? Russian government did it to their own people. Chinese government did it to their own people. Okay, he goes on to talk about Hitler. For a short period of time when we needed to gather strength for the struggle against Hitler, Stalin cynically adopted a friendly posture toward the church. This deceptive game continued in later years by Brezhnev with the help of showcase publications. Okay, I don't think we need this, yet the tenacity with which hatred of religion is rooted in communism, we do need this, may be judged by the example of the most liberal leader, Khrushchev. For though he undertook a number of significant steps to extend freedom, Khrushchev simultaneously rekindled the frenzied Leninist obsession with destroying religion. So destroying God and religion gives them power because God's laws are higher than man's, right? So if you believe in God, you may not listen to the government. But there's something they did not expect, that in a land where churches have been leveled, where a triumphant atheism has rampaged uncontrolled for 2/3 of a century, where the clergy are utterly humiliated and deprived of all independence, where what remains of the church as an institution is tolerated only for the sake of propaganda directed at the West, where even today are people sent to the labor camps for their faith, and where the camps themselves, those who gather to pray at Easter, are clamped in punishment cells. If you like this video, like, share. If you believe in fellowship, pass it around, share it. Thank you. They could not suppose that beneath this communism stealer, the Christian tradition would survive in Russia. So what's he saying? That through all that, and sometimes what happens? Under duress, faith increases, right? There's that line in the Bible. So if you persecute someone greatly, their faith may increase, their love may increase, their hope may increase. It is true that millions of our countrymen have been corrupted and spiritually devastated by an officially imposed atheism, yet there remain many millions of believers. It is only external pressures that keep them from speaking out. But as is always in the case of times of persecution and suffering, here it comes, the awareness of God in my country has attained great acuteness and profundity, so it has increased their faith. It's made their faith profound. So that's the good thing from stress and duress, right? And attacks and persecution. If you're persecuted, your faith may increase. It is here that we see the dawn of hope, for no matter how formidably communism bristles with tanks and rockets, no matter what successes it attains and sees in the planet is doomed never to vanish Christianity. That's pretty hopeful, right? The West has yet to experience a communist invasion. Well, we've had it now, for sure. And the cultural Marxists were already here when he's written this. They've now taken over the institutions. They're in Hollywood. They're everywhere. Religion remains free, but they're trying to shut it off, and they did during COVID, right? You couldn't go to church, right, at many churches. But the West's own historical evaluation has been such that today it has experienced a drying up of religious consciousness. If you look at the stats, we've gone through this, it's kind of decreased. Faith has decreased. Now, with a small group, it's gotten a little stronger, right? But overall, it's decreased in the United States. Not good. It too has witnessed racking schisms, or you could say it's filtering out, and it is good, right? You could say it's sifting it. So it depends the way you look on it. But overall, if you want a Christian nation, you hope more people increase in faith. Bloody religious wars, to say nothing of the tide of secularism from the Middle Ages onward, has progressively inundated the West. The gradual sapping of strength from within is a threat to faith. Threats from within are very dangerous. Any attempt to assault religion from without, correct. It's within, right, when they infiltrate the churches and the communists take over, or the globalists take over, the climate change people take over. Unnoticeably, through decades of gradual erosion, the meaning of life in the West ceased to stand for anything more lofty than the pursuit of happiness. Now, right here, he's kind of knocking pursuit of happiness. He's not talking about the Aristotle version of happiness. He's talking about a superficial happiness. Concepts of good and evil. Now, good and evil are important, and they exist, right? There's good and evil in the world. We see it. You see it. And it's been since the beginning of time. It's not just today. Concept of good and evil have been ridiculed for several centuries, banished from common use. They have been replaced by political or class considerations of short-lived value. So look, you need to see and know that good and evil exists to be able to defeat it, right? That battle started at the beginning of time. There is good, there is evil. We know that. We need to call it out. It has become embarrassing to appeal to eternal concepts. True. Some people are embarrassed to talk about God and eternal life. Even during COVID, you could tell there was a temporal perspective, because if people had been looking for the eternal, they wouldn't have been as concerned, right? Embarrassing to state that evil makes its home in the individual human heart before it enters a political system. Yet it is not considered shameful to make daily concessions to an integral evil, judging by continuing landscape of concessions made before the eyes of our very own generation. The West is slipping toward the abyss. Western societies are losing more and more of their religious essence. That's true. And they are thoughtlessly yield up their younger generation to atheism. This is true. You can see the polls. Parents don't believe they even need to take their kids to church now. They don't need to believe. And really, the instruction needs to come where of God? In the home by the father to the kids. So that's a big deal. Men need to teach the Bible in the home. What other evidence of godlessness does one need? If a blasphemous film about Jesus is shown throughout the United States, reputedly one of the most religious countries in the world, or for major new published shame or character of the Virgin Mary, when external rights are completely restricted, okay. Or why should one draw back from burning hatred, whatever its basis, race, class, zealous ideology? Marxists divide us by race. You see it all the time. By class. By who has and who doesn't. Gives them more power than the government, right? The media fires everybody up against each other. Atheist teachers in the West are bringing up a younger generation in a spirit of hate for their own society, much more than that now. Atheist teachers in the West are teaching transgenderism, critical race theory. Pull your kids out of the school, homeschool. Too much influence with peers and these teachers, some of these teachers, not all are bad, but some. But it's beyond the teachers, it's the Department of Education, unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional for them to be in education, the Federal Department of Education. And they're pushing transgenderism and critical race theory. Totalitarians and tyrants go after the children. That's why the unconstitutional Department of Education must be ended. So it goes on to talk about, forgotten are all the defects of capitalism, represent the basic laws of human nature, freed from the limitations, just as the various human rights are that are under communism, which are unstable, and communism breathes down the neck of all moderate forms. Under communism, the very same flaws become unbridled in any person with the last degree of authority. Okay. Yeah, I like this line, the equality of destitute slaves. So many people will be pulled down into a bad equality of slaves. So you'll have the upper elites, and look where society's gone in the last few years. What have you seen? Look how much the top 0.01% have gained versus the rest. Such incitements to hatred are coming to characterize today's free world. This is right on the money. This is 1983, and you see it today, this division and hatred that they have fired up and put. Indeed, the broader the personal freedoms are, the higher the level of prosperity or even abundance, the more vehement is this blind hatred. Well, they fire it up. They teach it in schools, indoctrination, right? Critical race theory, socialism, communism, like it's fantastic. Contemporary developed West thus demonstrates by its own example that human salvation can be found neither in the profusion of material goods nor in merely making money. Well, that's true. The unquenchable hatred then spreads to all that is alive, to life itself, to the world with its colors, sounds, and shapes, to the human body. The embittered heart of the 20th century has perished from this ugly hate. So he talks about that. In the East, art has collapsed because it has been knocked down and trampled, but in the West, the fall has been voluntary, a decline into a contrived and pretentious quest where the artist, instead of attempting to make known the divine plan, tries to put himself in the place of God. And now humans are trying to put themselves in the place of God with transhumanism, living forever. And you can be anything you think you are, right? A man can be a woman can be a man, because you can become God. And you can't become God. And a man can't become a woman, and a woman can't become a man. Here again, the same result is produced in both East and West through a wide process. I want to get through this. Confronted by the onslaught of worldwide atheism, believers are disunited and frequently bewildered, and yet the Christian or post-Christian would do well to note the example of the Far East, okay? He's talking about free China and Japan and how apparently the lesser precision of their religious concepts, and the same unassailable freedom of choice that exists. But both the society and the younger generation have preserved a moral sense to a greater degree than true in the West. Okay. He saw that. What can one say about the lack of unity among various religions? I don't think we need this. Let's move on. He doesn't think. Let's go through what he says. In recent years, the major Christian churches have taken steps toward reconciliation. Well, that's scary about the one world religion. But those measures are far too slow, perishing 100 times. No one expects the church to merge or revise all their doctrines. Okay, that's good. There also exists an organized movement for the unification of the churches, but as it presents an odd picture, the World Council of Churches seems to care more for the success of revolutionary movements than the third. Well, I'd be leery of any one world religion, right? Revolution. It is with proud regret that I must note here something which I cannot pass over in silence, that my predecessor in receipt of this prize. Now, this is an interesting line. It seems more and more apparent that even with the most sophisticated political maneuvers, the noose on the neck of mankind draws tighter and more hopeless with every passing decade. And what have we seen? Go up or down. Faith go up or down. Hope go up or down. Love go up or down. Now, here's a key. The primary key to our being or non-being resides in each individual human heart and the heart's preference for specific good or evil. This remains true even today. Social theories which have been promised have demonstrated their bankruptcy, leaving us in the end dead. Here he talks about the ending. All attempts to find a way out of the plight of today's world are fruitless without a repentant return of our consciousness to the Creator of all. Without this, no exit will be illumined, and we shall be unable to find our way. No exit will be illumined, and we shall be unable to find our way. So it goes on to ask a question, are not the ideas of our century false? And is not our glib and fashionable terminology just as unsound? A terminology which leads to superficial remedies being proposed for each difficulty. In every field of endeavor, they must all be subjected to clear-eyed review, while at the same time, the solution of the crisis will not be found along the well-trodden path of conventional notions. Now, this is a great point at the end here. Our life consists not in the pursuit of material success, but what? In the quest of worthy spiritual growth. So where do you want to be in life, men? Do you want to be in the pursuit of material success, or do you want to be in the quest of worthy spiritual growth? Where are you at? The pursuit of material success or the quest of worthy spiritual growth? Our entire earthly existence is but a transitional stage in the movement towards something higher. Are you moving to something higher? And we must not stumble and fail, and we must linger fruitlessly on one rung of the ladder. Material laws alone do not explain our life, right? Material laws alone, and de Tocqueville, as we just talked about earlier, talked about this. You can't make it either. A country can't make it. A nation can't make it without looking up sometimes, without the balance of materialism and spiritualism. If you become all materialistic, you'll have all this nonsense and foolishness. Transhumanism. Men can be men. Men can be women. Women can be men. The laws of physics, and this is important in physiology, will never reveal the indisputable manner in which the Creator constantly, day in and day out, does what? Participates in the life of each of us. Isn't that great? Unfailingly granting us the energy of existence. He takes your hand off you, you're done. So we can be grateful for each day we're on the earth. In fact, write down 5 things you're grateful for right now, if you're sad or upset. You can be grateful to be alive. When this assistant leaves us, we die. Do we think about death enough? Where we're going? In the life of our entire planet, the divine spirit moves with no less force. We must grasp in our dark and terrible hour. I like this ending. Instead of the ill-advised hopes of the last 2 centuries, which have reduced us to insignificance, what is significant about your life? And brought us to the brink of nuclear and non-nuclear death, we can only reach with determination for the warm hand of whom? God. Which we have so rashly pushed away. If we did this, our eyes could be open to the errors of the unfortunate 20th century, and our hands could be directed to set them right. There's nothing else to cling to, and the landslide of all the thinkers of the Enlightenment can give us. Our 5 continents are caught in a whirlwind, but it is during such trials that the highest gifts of the human spirit are manifested. If we perish and lose this world, the fault will be ours alone. He ends with that. And that's true, right? It's up to us to maintain it. It's up to us to create the balance in our life, in our individual selves. So you can focus on excellence, spiritual growth as a man, or you can focus only on material things, fame, material things. Or you can focus on spiritual growth and the virtues. And while we will never be perfect, always imperfect, we can become excellent and increase. So where are our thoughts and energy going? Thank you. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe.